International Space Station got up early this morning to oversee the undocking of a Russian Progress supply ship. The Progress, full of trash, was released to burn up in orbit. The Progress was undocked to clear the way for the arrival of Atlantis late Friday morning. Future shuttles will be able to dock at a port attached to the Destiny laboratory that Atlantis is delivering. On board Atlantis, the crew was awakened by mission control for their first full day on orbit. Capsule communicator Ellen Ochoa sent greetings to spaceflight rookie pilot Mark Polanski.
Good morning, Atlantis, and for Roman, welcome to your first full day in orbit.
Thanks a lot, Ellen. I feel like this is our natural habitat and we're having a blast.
As Atlantis continued to close in on the space station, the crew began a series of checks to assure that all was ready for the docking. The crew checked out the space vision system, a computerized method of determining alignment, and other rendezvous tools in preparation for tomorrow's docking. The shuttle's robot arm was powered up and used to survey the payload bay to assure that everything was in place after yesterday's ride to orbit. Spacesuits were checked for use later in the flight. An oxygen tank in a backup suit was not fully pressurizing. Polanski told Mission Control about what the crew saw.
Yeah, we just started out looking at the suit O2 piece. Suit number 1 is 916, however, number 3 is at 482.
Mission Control later determined that there was no leak and the suit could continue to serve as a backup. The crew gathered items for transfer to the space station and extended the orbiter's docking ring to prepare for mating to the ISS. Commander Ken Cockrell and mission specialist Tom Jones took time out to talk about the importance of the delivery of the Destiny Lab.
Well, every piece of the station is important because they're all building blocks for the rest. But this piece does allow us to bring to life some things that are already on board station, for example, the control moment gyros. And it also marks the beginning of the capability to do some real positive scientific research on board station.
Jones discussed the condition of the lab and explained how Destiny will be installed to the space station.
Well, the lab, Destiny has already been through the roughest part of the trip, we think, and with that ride up till yesterday, we think it'll be a lot gentler as we handle it and move it across from the cargo bay to the station. We're going to be very careful, of course, because we've got a lot of delicate hardware both inside the lab and on the space station that we can't afford to damage. So Marsha Ivins is all ready to go with her robotics work after the checkout of the arm today. And outside we'll be able to give her some extra clearance if she needs it from the eyes of the two spacewalkers.
After a day of preparations, the crew was ready for tomorrow's docking with the International Space Station and their meeting with the Expedition 1 crew.
This is Mission Control Houston, and this view now of the docking port on the Zarya module of the International Space Station in preparation for the undocking of the Progress vehicle. The Progress vehicle serves a multitude of purposes. Initially, it arrived at the International Space Station loaded with supplies and hardware for the crew. It has since been emptied and in its place has been filled with refuse, trash, and other equipment that is no longer required. Upcoming in just about a minute or so, a command should be issued for the Progress to undock from the International Space Station. Physical separation between the two vehicles is expected at 5:26 a.m. Central Time. About 3 orbits of the Earth later, just before 10 a.m. Central Time, a command should be issued to deorbit the Progress vehicle, put it into a ballistic trajectory that will cause it to burn up as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. And physical separation now confirmed between the Progress vehicle and the International Space Station as Progress begins to back away from the space station.
habitat. Baby, where you at? I wanna go there. Where's the place? Which direction should I face? Baby, where's the place? I wanna go there. I was doing fine, then I heard you call. I've been searching everywhere, but I can't find you nowhere at all. So where you at? Where's your natural habitat? Tell me before I flip my hat. I've gotta go there.
Good morning, Atlantis, and for Roman, welcome to your first full day in orbit.
Thanks a lot, Ellen. I feel like this is our natural habitat, and we're having a blast. Dave's got a view of it.
That's right, and we've been following you through on that.
Загудело, наверное, появились.
Как нас слышно?
Слышно.
Мы вас тоже слышим хорошо. И, ребята, как мы предупреждали вас в предыдущем сеансе, пожалуйста,
This is Mission Control Houston, and these views now from Atlantis' middeck. In the foreground, mission specialist and spacewalker Bob Kirby. The crew is currently in the process of configuring the airlock to support 3 scheduled spacewalks and beginning the process of checking out the spacesuits that will be worn by Kirby and astronaut Tom Jones during those spacewalks. They'll actually be checking out 3 spacesuits that are carried on board, 1 for each of the spacewalkers as well as 1 spare that's carried.
Будем ставить 50 ампер, да?
Да, 50 ампер.
Так, ну и пока ждем, провели прозвонку кабелей, собрали схему, как было указано, провели прозвонку, 6-я и 7-я ножки разомкнуты.
Принято.
Copy, Beamer. You can press ahead with the procedure. We'll watch the pressures in the tank from here, and you can do the same if you get eyes in that direction.
Roger that. We're complete with step 38, pressing on with 39 subsequent.
And what that does is isolate the oxygen tank on the EMU-3 vehicular mobility unit, or the spacesuit number 3. EMU's numbers 1 and 3 are actually hanging on the walls in the airlock. So those are the 2 suits that are being checked out at present. And here on the ground, we saw a degradation, a drop in the O2 tank pressure on that suit. But since it's currently being fed oxygen through the orbiter's system, this procedure will actually isolate the tank in the suit to basically within itself, so that the EVA community down here on the ground can monitor the pressure in the suit to ensure that it does not have a slight leak at this point.
Atlantis, Houston for EMU-2.
Go ahead, Mario.
I thought you'd like to hear this in all the conversations we've had of late. EMU-2's pressure prior to shipment was last read at 744.
Well, that makes us feel very good.
I thought that would put you where you're at.
Thanks for that.
Commander Cockrell, let's start with you. Tell me how important this Destiny Space Lab is to making the space station function the way you want it.
Well, every piece of the station is important because they're all building blocks for the rest. But this piece does allow us to bring to life some things that are already on board station, for example, the control moment gyros. And it also marks the beginning of the capability to do some real positive scientific research on board station.
Let's get to the bottom line here. I get nervous carrying a crystal glass across the room. You're going to move a $1.3 billion piece of space hardware. I know you guys have been on before, but this has got to be a lot of pressure on you. So let's put that question to Tom.
Well, the lab, Destiny has already been through the roughest part of the trip, we think, and with that ride uphill yesterday, we think it'll be a lot gentler as we handle it and move it across from the cargo bay to the station. We're going to be very careful, of course, because we've got a lot of delicate hardware both inside the lab and on the space station that we can't afford to damage. So Marsha Ivins is all ready to go with her robotics work after the checkout of the arm today. And outside, we'll be able to give her some extra clearance if she needs it from the eyes of the two spacewalkers.
Commander, let me ask you, we already consider shuttle missions as very routine, but still space flight, we're not taking people onto space flights every day. When you complete this space station, do you think we'll be getting closer to that day when it will be truly a routine event?
Let me just talk about one part of that first. If you'd been with us yesterday, you'd realize that spaceflight is anything but routine. It's a violent, impressive, and sometimes very thrilling ride. So getting to orbit is going to continue to be one of the challenges to make routine. I think if you can get past that challenge and make getting to orbit a little more gentle and perhaps another order of magnitude reliable, then yes, the things like the space station, an orbiting platform of that size would enable quite a few people to join us on orbit. But we do have quite a hurdle of making the trip from Earth to low Earth orbit safe and routine and affordable.
Ken, you're 50, Tom, I believe you're 45. I put us all in that same generational club. When you were a boy and imagining space flight, did you think by now you'd be going beyond where we are now and moving into outer space, manned exploration to the planets?
I certainly thought that people would have traveled a lot farther in terms of their progress of exploring the solar system. When I was a kid growing up, I was worried that people would get to the surface of Mars before I even got through college and had a chance to participate. So it's sort of gratifying in one way that I'm still able to work at age 46 here on this brand new space station that's going to be the focus of all of the world's space exploration efforts over the next few years. And I think that along with the robotic exploration of pushing out the boundaries of our knowledge of the solar system out at Mars and on the asteroids this month, for example, that combination of finding out about human work and productivity and lives in space will come out of the space station program, and people will be ready to go on to those planets that our robots are exploring now. So I give it another 10 or 20 years, and we will be on Mars, I think, and maybe I'll have a chance to participate in that, too.
Ken, you mentioned that space flight is still not routine. It's still a pretty rough and tumble ride. Do you ever get used to it? Do you ever look out that window beneath you there and still wonder in awe that you're actually where you are?
I wonder that continually, and there's no way to get used to it. Typically, it takes long enough to prepare for a flight that by the time you fly on the flight subsequent to the one before, many of the sensations have faded, or at least the accuracy of them have faded from your memory. So when you get to each flight, it reminds you with a start just how big and dynamic the ride is.
Given all the years you've been training and waiting for this mission and also the 3-week delay, what was the mood like on the ride uphill yesterday and once you reached orbit?
Well, we had a swing or so of the mood because we had one little scare coming out of the 9-minute hold. There was a delay while they researched the impact of a failure on one of the computer multiplexers in the back of the vehicle, or at least serving systems in the back of the vehicle, and so we were a little worried that we'd have yet another delay. So as you can imagine, after we got past that, we were really exuberant, and just because of the exuberance and getting past all the delays and all the training, our ride uphill was nothing but, although very dynamic and a little bit painful at times, it was nothing but joy for us.
Now that you're up in orbit, how anxious are you and your crew to get cracking on Destiny? Any butterflies?
Well, I think there's certainly always butterflies, or at least there's a feeling of wanting to do everything just right, because it is a important part, as every assembly component of the station is, and if we don't do our job correctly, then the next flight can't come along and do its job as scheduled. And if there's a big glitch with the way things go on this flight, then some portion of it will have to be reflown before we can continue. So, yes, we're definitely keyed up for every aspect of this, and we've been working hard all day today to get ready for the docking and to get ready for the EVAs that are associated with connecting Destiny up to the node.
It seemed to take a long time for you to check out your suits today. Do they seem okay? Do you have any concerns?
We have 3 suits to check out, and so that's probably why it felt like a little long process today, because we had to work through the detailed checks on all 3. But as we found out through the lunch hour and beyond into the afternoon, all the systems on the suits are working fine. All of the equipment that supports the suits is ready, and tomorrow is going to be a great day. After docking, we're going to transfer a lot of equipment into station, and they're going to loan us some of their spacewalking gear so we can actually get the EVAs off, and that's the last piece of the puzzle we have to check out tomorrow evening.
Commander, how's the flight so far?
One word would sum it up, and that is busy. From the time we hit orbit yesterday, we worked really hard without any breaks and without any spare time until a couple hours past our bedtime last night, and we've been nonstop today as well. Lots of preparations to get ready to dock to the station, and also things that we need to get done now in order to be ready to do the things that come at us after we get to the station, which is all the robotics work and spacewalking work that we need to do to hook the lab onto the station.
Commander, tell us about the Destiny laboratory you're delivering to the space station.
Well, Destiny is a 28-foot long, 15 or 14-foot diameter, 30,000-pound laboratory, and what we deliver is the laboratory and all the equipment that's needed to make it a safe and habitable place to live and to work. Subsequent flights will bring the actual science research experiments and the lockers or the racks that hold those experiments. So what we're delivering is the capability, and we're going to get that capability up and running for the next flights to begin the science with.
Dr. Jones, this is your fourth mission, as it is for the commander. I understand you have 3 spacewalks coming up. Can you explain the purpose? You're going to be essentially attaching this laboratory onto the International Space Station, correct?
That's what the crew's job is to deliver and attach the lab to the station. And the way the crew plays that out is Marcia Ivins is our robotics operator, and she'll be using the shuttle's robot arm to lift the lab out of the payload bay and turn it and dock it gently with the forward end of the space station. That'll be coming the day after tomorrow. And while she's doing that on the first of our 3 spacewalks, Bob Kerbeam and I will be out there after Marcia's docked the station to the laboratory. We'll be making the utility connections to provide the power and cooling and data to let that information and heat transfer and electrical power flow back and forth between the station and the laboratory. So this is the essential first step in getting the laboratory turned on.
For clarity, and not to add any more pressure than you already have, but this laboratory cost $1.4 billion, I understand. It's so expensive that NASA could not afford to build a backup. All missions are extremely critical and extremely important, but one gets the impression that this is a little more critical than your average shuttle mission. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I can tell you from inside the vehicle as a crew member, the criticality is always the same. The ride to ascent is dynamic and a little bit thrilling, and everything that we do up here, well, not everything, but on every mission there's something that we do that can't be done any other way, and so there's always that level of pressure and that level of criticality that's attached to it. We try not to think about the cost of the lab. It's certainly nothing that we could pay back if we ruined it, so we try to keep that sort of thing out of our minds, and we just concentrate on doing a good job, just as we always have on any other flight.
Dr. Jones, I'm curious, you're also the official Earth photographer for the flight. Is there anything specific you'll be looking for in imaging of the Earth from the shuttle in this mission?
Well, the first thing that I hope is that we have enough time to do the Earth observing that we'd like to do. We're so busy on this flight, and it's oriented towards the space station. above us most of the time that we won't be looking down at the Earth a great deal. But we had some good viewing today, and towards the end of the flight, we hope to see some more. The big goals for this flight, we hope to see some tropical atolls and coral reefs around the world in the tropics and document the condition of some of those reefs. We're also looking at the status of a number of volcanoes around the world. Some of them are a little bit remote, and so it helps to look down on those volcanoes for signs of activity from above. And then we also are interested in the largest cities on the planet, what are called mega cities, which are growing here in the new century to scales that would have been unheard of 50 years ago. So not only do we have LA and New York to keep track of in terms of growth, but there are cities in India and Asia and in the Asian subcontinent that we really are interested in getting some photography of to track their growth as people move from the countryside to urban life.
Now, I understand the three-person crew of the Space Station Alpha, they'll be happy to see you. Are you bringing them anything that they should be looking forward to getting from this mission?
We're bringing them some basics. We're bringing some food and a little bit of clothing, but for just extra things and enjoyment, we're bringing along some chocolate and other kinds of candies and some notes and gifts from their loved ones at home, and also I think about 20 DVD movies that they have had opportunities to watch some movies from time to time, and these will be some fresh ones for them.
And I'm sure they'll be happy with that. If you don't mind getting back to Destiny for a moment, when can we see some actual research being conducted in this laboratory? Is it going to be after the entire International Space Station is completed, or can there be some testing experiments done prior to that?
We were just talking about that. As we mentioned, we're just bringing up the part of Destiny that's required to keep it running and make it a habitable place to live. The next flight after us, STS 102, I believe 5A.1 is what we call it, and also Flight 6A, bring up racks or the refrigerator-sized modules that fit within the laboratory that do contain the first of the science experiments. So I believe in just a matter of months we'll begin research aboard Destiny. Houston, Atlantis for CSA-CP.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Haas, just wanted to let you know that I just completed doing the zero calibration and looked like it worked. The final readings were for O2 20.4, and everything else was a 0.
We copy. Thanks, Roman.
Houston, Atlantis, looks like we had a good initial position, and we're going to go power off push button now.
We concur. Looks like a good ring extension to us.